And Phil Heath was on his way out. He finished third at that show. And I found Phil Heath, at a local show in 2005, I think. And I knew, like, right then, I remember calling the Weeder offices. I met him on a Saturday. And Phil was broke. He couldn't afford to even train. He was working as a personal trainer. And I said, you should be competing. And he said, I can't afford to prep, in personal training at Bally's or whatever. And I said, you know what, let me get back to you on Monday, give me a number. We talked a bit. And he had the mentality, and that's a lot that goes into the bodybuilding, and I'll talk about that too, but I could tell, like, he was headstrong, but at the same time he had the crazy physique too, had the great arms and whatever. And I made the call, to Weeder offices on Monday. I said, listen guys, I'm not gonna call you guys and kind of bullshit you guys about anything, but I just found the next Mr. Olympia, after me, of course, and sure enough, they said, okay, we'll give him a deal, and we signed the contract. The next thing you know, Phil Heath started to climb up the ladder and became on the scene. So that's kind of where our things kind of started. And I didn't necessarily train him. I just kind of helped get him finance so he could be able to train. And the kind of history there. He came up behind me. Never in a million years did I think Phil Heath was going to come up and actually beat me. I figured I'd be gone by the time he made his rise up. So he finished third in 08. Dexter won. Dexter, carried the show. But you know what? For me, I was never like I wasn't Mr. Olympia. I was still booked as much. I was trying events. I was still as popular as ever. I came back in 09, won it back super strong. That kind of rewrote my whole career. I was back on top and, traveling all over the place. And won it again in 10. Phil, came in 11. I tore my bicep like 3 weeks out. A lot of things happened that year, but I tore my bicep 3 weeks out doing a shoulder press, kicking the dumbbells up. I tore my bicep. Didn't know, I thought I had a strain because it really didn't hurt that bad, and I was still able to continue to train. But then it was, by the time I got to stages, black and blue and everything else, so I couldn't win the show. I got second place there. And that was pretty devastating because I never had an injury. I remember laughing about 2 months prior, someone saying, man, because I had planned to retire from number 5. I didn't tell people that, but I had planned to step away. And I think I was 38 at the time. And I said, I've never been injured. I've been training. I'm so smart. I've been, training with more volume training. And next thing you know, I tore the bicep and, it kind of knocked me out. Had the surgery the next year, sat out 2012. As a lot of I came back at 13. I was a shadow of myself. I finished 6th, which was my worst placing in the Olympia in over 12 years. And that's when I decided to kind of walk away from the game. I thought there were better things I could do on the outside. I was starting a supplement brand, and I wanted to, travel more. And that's when I really started to get into more of the events, and I worked with the military, and I promote a bunch of shows, and I have a lot of business outside of the fitness stuff. And, but the supplement brand was like kind of my main focus then. But with the training, from day one to today, it's still the same. I was a high volume trainer. I did up to, usually 20 sets of body parts. So if I did biceps, I did 20 sets, chest 20 sets, legs and back, my harder body parts, I did upwards of 30 sets. Sounds like a lot to a lot of people, but I like to do sets where I do 8 to 12 repetitions, mostly about 12. I don't go to failure. Okay, never trained to failure ever. So I never had a guy pulling weights off me or pushing me through many repetitions. Why? You either have volume in your routine or you have more high intensity where you're doing forced reps and lower volume, okay? Because you can't continually do high volume and totally burn yourself down. Eventually it's just gonna be counterproductive, right? So if you're gonna train a certain way, remember, you just can't beat yourself down. Training, you have to think about each workout. You have to go in there with a game plan. So when I went to the gym and trained, I already knew the day prior what my workouts were gonna be. I could visualize everything. So they talk about this mind to muscle connection that a lot of the top athletes have. And I can tell you, I had the best mind-muscle connection because I could feel myself going through the reps every time. You know, sometimes I close my eyes and I train. But I knew the day prior, okay, if I'm going to do chest, I'm going to start with, you know, incline dumbbells, and then I'm going to go to flies and whatever the routine be. I chose 5 or 6 or 7 different movements, and I did 3 to 4 sets each. I usually did what I call feel sets as warm-up sets, but that was just to get the rhythm a little bit, and then I would focus on going through the reps. Rest time's 45 to 60 seconds between each set. So if I was training with a training partner, usually the partner would go, I would go. Really didn't favor having training partners, to be honest. People wanted to show up and train with me. I just said, listen, I'm not changing the weights. I'm not spotting you. If you want to come train, you know, I was kind of a dick, to be honest, you know. I'll be honest. But I tried to train with people that had the same strength. And listen, I was strong. A lot of people look at my videos and they think, I was in the Ronnie Coleman era, so it didn't seem like when he would put out his training